Welcome to Tulsa Titans, highlighting our local business leaders who are making a difference. Today on the show, we have Chris Posey, Marketing Manager for OGI Process Equipment. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Crystal.
I appreciate it. So, Chris, why don't you start off by telling us just a little bit about yourself?
Okay, it definitely was not a straight trajectory to where I'm at now. I actually started out, well, I planned to be a music teacher, and so that's where I started in college and did that for a couple of years until I experienced my first major life shift and decided I was going to work in the church for a while. So I ended up going to a Bible college out in Florida for a few years and was a youth pastor out of college for about 3.5 years. And then came my next huge life change. I decided to go back to school. And this time I decided I was going to teach high school, not music, but English this time. When I made this decision, I was living out in North Carolina. So I moved back to Oklahoma and started school at OSU. And I had to go, I went there for a few years and finished up my education and started teaching in 1999, teaching English at a large school district in Tulsa, an independent school district in Tulsa. I was there for 8 years, and I really enjoyed that job. It's a very rewarding job. And then began to start having children, and my wife at the time, also a teacher, and so we kind of decided one of us is going to have to make a change to raise two kids. It's just in Oklahoma, it's tough on two teacher salaries. So I went back to school and got my MBA at OSU, and with an emphasis in marketing, which had always been an interest of mine. It's just an interest I hadn't really pursued. Um, but for years, that was kind of, even when I was working in the church, that was kind of I guess, my slant. And so my first year was kind of a trial, and my first year back in school was just kind of a trial, like, hey, is this really something that needs to be pursued? And I loved it. It was exactly what I wanted to be doing, what I wanted to be studying. So I finished that up in a few years, and then left teaching and started into marketing at a publication company in Tulsa, a large kind of conglomerate, and just had the tiniest little desk job in a tiny little cubicle off by myself. It really was a good transitional job for me coming out of teaching English, because there is so much editing involved in that job, and it was primarily web, digital, and social media, email, and then I ended up switching to another publication within that company, and it got a little bit more, is a little bit more marketing focused, a little more serious, I guess. It was a small publication, and it was a relatively new one. So it's kind of this new adventure that the company had taken on, and that was a lot of fun. Kind of treating it as a startup, I guess. At that time, I met my current boss, where I'm at now at OGI. She was working there too at the time, and that was a great connection to make, because this many years later, we reconnected, and there was an opportunity here at OGI, and just kind of worked out. And so I've been here now. I'll celebrate my third year anniversary on January 31st. So about 3 years now.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
And thanks.
Every year is another year to celebrate.
That's
Well,
right.
that's an interesting path that you've chosen,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Just kind of all over the place.
I love it. You're made up of lots of hats and lots of things and talents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
hope so.
curious now, as we kind of, look into the new year, as we're you know, starting things over, if you will, do you kind of take a look and examine what things professionally that you'll be consuming a little more of next year, what changes you want to make, what you want to pull back on? What does that look like for you?
Moving into 2023, I think that uh, my focus is going to become even more on trade shows. When I started here at OGI, I started just as COVID was moving in, and so it was a strange time for trade shows. Um, that first year we really just didn't do any. The second year, um, starting into the second year, we started back into it, and then in 2022 we have been getting a little more serious about it now that things are kind of returning back to normal in the trade show realm. And so in 2023, I foresee those just continuing to be to take up more of my time, to be a larger focus of mine. I think whether we've got a trade show that month or not, there's going to be something that's going to need to be done pretty much every month. Of course, that's where I met you, at a trade show here in Oklahoma. And that's just going to continue to grow in importance and also time consumption for me. Another big thing that we are moving into as we move into 2023 is a more significant focus on ESG. Um, and just to I don't know, ESG is obviously an important topic. Those are things that companies, responsible companies, are really ensuring they've got everything nailed down on. And ESG also is very much a marketing function. Whether you like to admit it or not, that what we are seeing from companies right now pertaining to ESG, a lot of it is coming through their marketing departments, because it's something that not only is an indication of maybe a responsible business, but also one that's staying on top of things with their customers. So that's going to be a big focus of ours moving into 2023. We're already talking about it and determining what we need to do. It's a little tougher for us because we do have a hand in companies that that have been traditionally or maybe stereotypically not seen as ESG friendly, although we definitely have ESG friendly options and alternatives. But so that's a challenge that we're going to be dealing with moving ahead. But I think that we'll get through it just fine. Another big thing for me that I just personally want to focus on in the months ahead is ensuring that we have a personal connection between our company and our clients. And this has come from just kind of taking a look at our social media numbers over the past couple of years. The content that we put out there that gets the most traction from all of our stakeholders, internally and externally, it's the content that includes our people and our people's work with other people. And so I want to make sure that we're introducing ourselves to our clients personally, that we're more than just a logo, more than just a name, but we really have relationships with our clients, and our clients know us and are familiar with us. So that's going to be a big focus for me continuing in the months ahead. So obviously, there's a scarcity of time, so I will probably spend a little less time on things, on some of the more tactical things that I've been dealing with over the last few years. When I first started at OGI, we did a major website overhaul, and there was a lot of collateral issues that came with that had to be dealt with even several months after the overhaul took place. we had a we had we had a big collateral overhaul, all of our printed materials, all of our presentation materials, all that stuff. We overhauled, and those two things alone, the website and the print and presentation collateral, took so much time over my first 2 years here. And so spending less time on those things really is probably more of a function of my tenure here as opposed to marketing ebbs and flows. But I'm happy to say that I can probably spend a little less time and attention on those things because we've laid a good solid foundation in those areas. So that's kind of it as far as looking ahead, what I'm going to be focusing on anyway.
I love what you just said about, uh, you're going to be able to spend, you're going to have the ability to spend less time working on the things that you have really been pressing in on, those big projects that when you start, this is going to be big, but you usually don't have any idea how much
Hmm.
of your time it is going to take. But now you can look back and say, that is done. I feel so good
Yep.
about that. We are
Yeah.
starting right where we should be. And that is a fantastic place to be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the funny thing, of course, on website, it's just this constantly evolving thing. We completely, like we threw everything away and started from scratch. And that again was about 2.5 years ago. And I'm already thinking to myself, we may need to, start looking again. So
Mhm.
that cycle will come back around at some point. But yeah, we do, I think, have a good foundation at this point on presentation, print, and online collateral.
That's wonderful. And so now, like you said, more time could be spent on things like specific targeted campaigns, and then,
Mhm.
fun trade shows, because who doesn't love trade
Yeah,
shows? I love them.
that's right. Oh
And
yeah.
I tell you what, I too have I think that is part of my plan as well, to try to get into as many shows as I can for that human interaction. We have missed it. Um, it is typically
Yeah.
those are a time that are set aside for people to focus on those, looking at different vendors and looking at what's out there. And that's a planning time. And so that's a perfect opportunity. You know that you're not bothering someone in the middle of their day and interrupting them. They're focused on that. So I'm excited too for trade shows as we go in. I think a lot of people are, far as I can tell this year, there have been a lot of vendor participation and a lot of just participation for traffic at each one as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell me this. Now, I know you wear a lot of hats doing a lot of things, as all people do. You're a father and a husband and just so many different things. So, what's a daily habit that you have that you feel helps you to be effective in your day to day?
I read every day, every morning, and I run almost every day. And so those two things, usually I'll get up early and go for a run, and then come back and read for at least 30 minutes. And sometimes I read nonfiction, sometimes I read marketing stuff, a lot of times I read fiction. Uh, Either way, both of those things have kind of helped me to step back from everything that's going on during the daytime and give me, an hour or so in the mornings before everything gets started to kind of get things organized in my brain. Sometimes on my run, I'll think about a situation that's arising at work, or sometimes I'll just veg for the entire run and just let my brain kind of clear out for a little bit. Either way, I think those two things have been a couple of the most important habits, both professionally and personally. I think I've been off running for a little bit, and because of a little injury, and I think I'm driving everybody crazy right now because I'm getting a lot antsy about it. And I'm not able to just do that same, get away and think about things for a while lately. So those are pretty important habits in my life, and things I like to do pretty much every day.
I feel you on that. And I will say, and the older we get, those injuries with our, workout regimens, they seem to come more often. And
Yeah, yeah.
I too get really, really frustrated if I can't do what it is I need to do every day. That is my outlet. It is a me time. And like you said,
Mhm.
it depends on what kind of working out I'm doing, but a lot of times I'm not thinking about anything else. So I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about all the things that I have to do or needed to do and didn't get done, or any challenges, just life challenges in general. I just get to be, for that time. And so, and really setting that up in the morning is so nice because if you
Mhm.
set something up for the end of your day, the chances of you getting to it are very slim.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so you're controlling that.
yeah. Yeah, every once in a while I'll tell myself when the weather is nice, well, I'll do my run after work today, and yeah, that doesn't happen very often. So I got to get it worked out in the morning.
That's true. That's true. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears here just a little bit because what you do, even though it's marketing, is definitely sales as well. So,
Mhm.
you know, that's all about building relationships a lot of times. It's a lot about meeting someone that you think, wow, I would really like to do business with that person, but you don't always get to turn that key as fast as you'd like to, right?
Mhm.
So how do
Yeah.
you keep straight or think in your mind about playing the long game in everything that you do in your profession?
Yeah. Well, we have a long sales cycle here anyway. We're a manufacturing company, and it takes from beginning to end. It's going to be several months, no matter what. So I guess I say we. I'm speaking on behalf of our salespeople here too, and they may feel differently, but I think we just go into it with that
Mhm.
mindset. We don't go into it with a mindset of rushing. We just go into it with a mindset of patience. Um, it's been interesting. Our president just started. She started here right before I did, and when she came in, she brought in several new people, myself being one of them, and so we saw kind of a lot of change occurring there a few years ago. And so now we have a kind of an interesting and a little bit awkward opportunity to go back and reclaim some folks who we've discovered might have been neglected before
Yeah,
this cadre of folks got here. So, um, but again, because of the nature of what we produce, it really is just kind of in step with everything else. We nurture those multi-year long relationships just as a matter of course,
mhm,
and so I guess it's just part of the way we run here. We're no one is trying to rush a client or anything like that, or rush a relationship or anything like that. And I think the end result there is we have really good quality, trusting relationships with our clients.
that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Well, now you've been doing this for a little while, even though you've done many different things. So, when you maybe you have some advice for other professionals as far as in a tougher market, just in general, what kind of advice would you have for other professionals?
Well, I just heard our CEO say this in a recent management meeting, like in the last few weeks, and it's something I believe. And she said that there are opportunities in all market conditions, and I firmly believe that. I used to watch Jim Cramer, his show um, you know about stocks, and so he would he would say at least once in the show, bulls make money, bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered. And so that's kind of, I think that is important, especially in a sales capacity. And this just goes back to what I was talking to a minute ago. Rushing is not going to is probably not going to pay off in the end. You might get some immediate benefits, but I think that just stepping back and assessing the entire situation and realizing there is a spot here where we can exist, where we can sell, where we can thrive. We become a little, I think we become a little spoiled during the great times when leads are just falling into our hands, and it's great. And then there are times when we just have to kind of start doing the research, branching out into new territories, maybe even firing some leads that are eating up so much of our time and squandering our resources. Sometimes that sort of thing, I guess, becomes necessary, but just being patient and knowing that, and we've seen this. I mean, we've had a pretty crazy, all of us have had a pretty crazy couple of few years, and businesses continue to thrive in different ways, and businesses came through, and so it can happen for most businesses. It's just a matter of doing the research and branching out a little bit and realizing that that there are opportunities in all market conditions.
I like that. I wrote it down. I might have to read that to myself sometime when I have a hard day.
Yeah.
We all need good reminders sometimes. Well, what are some qualities that you feel are really important for someone who is a sales professional or in business development, or maybe even somebody who says, I might like to go into that field? What do you think some
Yeah.
good qualities are there?
Well, I've had the opportunity to work with some great sales people in my career, and so as I look at them, and the ones who I admire the most, honestly, the number one trait is I say tenacity, but I have to temper that a little bit with the word professional tenacity. There we've all experienced the salespeople who are just, they're just kind of bulldogging, they're on you all the time, and that they're just, I just want to make a sale, I just want to make a sale, and they're not necessarily thinking about putting the right product with the right person. And but then you see the ones who know, I've found the right company for this product. And the company simply, it just may take some time and relationship building. And so that's what I mean by tenacity, really, is just the relationship building. And of course, I'm again speaking out of an organization that's a very long sales cycle, and we have that luxury to build relationships over time. But tenacity, and especially in building relationships, that's the number one thing that I see. And closely related to that is proactivity. When I think of tenacity, I'm thinking relationships directly with clients. But when I think of proactivity, that may be proactivity with clients, or it just may be proactivity in, hey, I need to learn about these new organizations, or I need to learn about this new industry, I need to learn about this new technology, and I need to take the initiative
Right.
to do that. As we all know, at this point in our careers, our bosses are not always going to say, learn about this or do this, but if we want to be successful, got to be proactive. And so it's closely tied to tenacity, but I think that proactivity is a little broader. And then I think finally, and even broader than proactivity, is self-awareness. And again, we probably all dealt with salespeople who are not self-aware, and we're very aware of them, because it's kind of like we receive the awareness that they are lacking, and
Right.
it's really, usually in an annoying way. So so I think that self-awareness just kind of brings the whole thing together, the tenacity and the proactivity. The self-awareness just provides that salesperson with the grace and the maturity to just to present things in the best way. So those are qualities that I think are I've noticed over the years. I feel are pretty important.
I couldn't agree more. And I will say, I have asked that question many of times on this podcast and then just in general. That's probably the best answers I've ever heard. I completely agree with all. Maybe it's just because I agree, Chris.
I think a lot of it is just from seeing people, seeing salespeople, um, honestly, that are annoying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that, because I know, like, even if they have a great product, I'm like, I just get annoyed, and I'm like, I don't know if I can make a phone call to this person to work out this deal, because the person just annoys me. So
Nope.
you just have a little grace, and people are are not unhappy to call you.
That's so true. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. And as a salesperson, I feel like my husband says I'm the worst person because if a salesperson comes at me, he's like, oh gosh, she's going to talk to him. She's going to give him her time. Here we are. We're just going to be. But I do, I want to hear them out. I want to hear what they have to say. And then I'm, real open to say, thank you for trying to sell me that dog food. I don't have a dog, but thank you.
Right.
That's fine.
Exactly.
I really don't have a problem saying no to somebody if it doesn't fit, but I will give them the
Right.
time to hear it. And
Yeah.
there have been times I wanted to say, you know what you probably should have done when you called me instead of this, that, and
Yeah.
the other,
Yeah.
or maybe if you'd have
Right.
went about this differently. So I know exactly what you mean. And we all have things that we need to learn, that's for sure. But when we're
Yeah.
cognizant of the fact of what we don't want to do, it really helps us to
Mhm.
do the right things more often, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think a good salesperson recognizes, oh, this is not, I mean, the dog food example is a perfect example. A good salesperson recognizes this is not the right product for this person. So I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste their time. Let's bail and find the person who it is the right product for. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I can see that you have a lot of books back there, and a lot of our
Oh,
listeners are also readers. Just as
uh-huh.
you mentioned before, it is up to us a lot of times to do our own professional development. If we want to make more money, and that means opening up a whole new avenue, it may mean learning a whole new industry so that you can do that,
Yeah.
learning details about that. So we really just have to take the initiative on our own to find out, I want to learn more about my prospect. I want to learn
Mhm.
more about challenges that they're having. And then I want to find out where those people are and I want to go tell them that I can fill their need. Right. So,
Yeah.
but I see that you have your books. A lot of times that is for, pleasure. Sometimes it's for professional development. I know you're a big reader. So tell me what you got. Which books do you recommend to us?
Um, well, the first one it is admittedly pretty cliche, but maybe it's old enough now that it's coming back around, or it can come back around without it being so very cliche. Because for a while there, it's just like, oh, come on now. But still, I read it decades ago, and the best business book I've ever read is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Mhm.
So, I mentioned proactivity earlier, and that's straight out of that book. And I would love it if that book may kind of had a resurgence, because I see the need for some of those things, the proactivity and things like sharpening the saw, and I think that I think it's a pretty timeless book. It's really for business and life, but I think the principles are just so relevant. Even, gosh, that was probably, I don't even remember when it was written, but it was decades ago that it was written. Still
Yes.
think it's totally relevant. So as far as general business, I still say The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
Now, marketing, uh, my probably my favorite marketing book. I don't hear about it too much. It's called Love Marks. It's by Kevin Roberts. Um, he was the CEO of Seachi and Seachi, and it's kind of like an interesting book. I'll just grab it here since it's on my bookshelf. You can see it doesn't even look like just your typical little book, and you open it up, and there are lots of pictures, and that's probably why I like it, because oh look, I can look at pictures in this book. But the I think that Love Marks kind of is the predecessor to like Seth Godin's Purple Cow, and other books like that. Love Marks is kind of about not just creating clients, but creating a brand that people love. So not just generating customers, but really becoming a brand that people love. I read another book a while back. It was actually while I was in school, called Nuts. And I can't remember who wrote that book, and my boss is borrowing it from me right now, but it's kind of the same concept. That book was a book about how Southwest Airlines had become an airline that people love. And so Love Marks is like that, but it's about all industries. It's a little more general. Nuts was very specific about Southwest. It's definitely one I'd recommend. But if you like the Purple Cow type books, if you like Seth Godin, then you probably like Love Marks too. It's written, as I showed, in a very different way, which actually just makes the book that much more special and enjoyable. But that's my goal anyway. I want for us to, obviously, I want for us to, to make sales and be a successful business. But I think that a focus that my boss has had, and I am completely on board with this, is we want to be a company and a brand that people love. And it's kind of tough. We sell big old hot water heaters for utilities, and so it's like, how do you love that company? But there are things that we can do to be that company, and I think a lot of those principles have come through books like Love Marks and Purple Cow and things like that. And and I'll just wrap up with one more, called Endure, and it's by Alex Hutchinson. And this guy used to write for Runner's World. And so the book on its face is about endurance runners, and so it appealed to me in that sense. But then as you are reading through it, you realize this book is not about endurance runners. This is a book about life and enduring life, and what it takes for the to play the long game, as you referenced earlier, but in life. And not only, and so the principles are just so they just resonated with me anyway. I think they would with a lot of people. And not only that, but it's just amazingly well written. I mean, this guy is such a good storyteller, Alex Hutchinson. So whether you're a runner or not, I would. It's been one of my most favorite books I've ever read, and so I'd recommend it to anyone, whether you're a runner or not. But if you are a runner, it's just all that much more interesting and relevant.
I'm sure, and I think that I don't know anybody that couldn't learn a little bit more about endurance. I mean,
Yeah,
it is one of
yeah,
the things that the older I get, the more I realize that that's something that we have to have. We have to be able to keep going and just keep going and keep going. And it's not just work, it's everything. We have a lot
yeah,
of things. We're tired, and sometimes we're really fatigued in such a way that we need a reminder on, you can do this, you can endure this. And if it can give you some ways to apply and think about things differently, that would be great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It does that for sure.
And now you've made me write another note to myself, which is to reread 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, because it's in my
Yeah,
cabinet in there. It's been a while since I read it, so I probably need to pull it out and then maybe pass it along to somebody.
yeah, yeah. And I could probably do a full cover to cover thing again myself because it's been a while since I've done that. I've referred back to pieces of it, but it'd probably be good for me just to sit down and, really get deep into it again from beginning to end.
In your spare time.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, Chris, if anybody would like to reach out to you and get in contact with you after hearing this podcast rather today, I want to make sure that they reach out to you in the way that you would like them to. So, what are some ways that folks can get in touch with you?
Social media is good. You know, I'm I have my social media dashboard open all day because I do the social media for my company, and so I see mine too, and so that would be a pretty quick way to get in touch with me, and particularly I'd say LinkedIn is probably the best way to get in touch with me. So that's kind of up and in my face quite a bit, and so I see it quickly and I'm able to respond quickly. So yeah, I'd say just reach out through LinkedIn, and I'd be happy to get back with anyone.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, thanks again. This is Crystal Horton, account executive for New Wave Solutions. Chris Posey, marketing manager for OGI Process Equipment. So glad to have you on.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks again for having me. I enjoyed it.
Have to do it again sometime.
Yes, definitely.